March 1970, West 116th Street, 2:30 in the morning. FrankLucas stands in his cousin Ray's apartment watching four men count money on a kitchen table. Three of them are his brothers. The fourth is Ray. Nobody else. That's the point. Ray looks up from the stacks. We're short. Lucas doesn't move. How much? 8 grand. One of the brothers, Melvin, stops counting. The room gets smaller. Where? Lucas says. Ray glances at the closet. There's a duffel bag on the floor, half-zipped. Inside it, loose bills mixed with something that looks like talcum powder but isn't. Jerome's drop, Ray says. He said the count was right. Jerome is another cousin, 22 years old. Drives a green Oldsmobile. Lives in the Bronx with his mother, Lucas's aunt. Lucas walks to the window, looks down at the street. A patrol car rolls past, slow, doesn't stop. Call him, Lucas says. Ray picks up the phone, dials, waits, hangs up. No answer. Melvin sits back in his chair. You want me to go get him? Lucas turns from the window. Not yet. What no one in that room says out loud is what everyone already knows. If Jerome stole the money, it's not just about the money. It's about whether blood still means what Lucas built everything on. And if it doesn't, the whole structure collapses before sunrise. That's when the knock comes. 3 sharp raps, no warning. Everyone in the room freezes. Melvin's hand moves toward his waistband. Lucas raises one finger. Wait. Ray goes to the door, looks through the peephole, opens it. Jerome walks in. Unhurt. Calm. Holds up a paper bag. Had to make change, he says. Bodega on Lenox was the only place open. He sets the bag on the table. $8,000 in mixed bills. Ray counts it. Nods. Lucas looks at Jerome for a long time. Then he looks at Melvin. Then back at Jerome. Next time, Lucas says, you call first. Jerome doesn't apologize, just nods. Sits down, starts counting with the others. Lucas leaves the apartment at 3:15, alone. Walks 2 blocks to his car. Nobody follows him. Nobody ever does. But something shifts in his mind during that walk. Not about Jerome. About the assumption. The assumption that made Melvin reach for his gun. The assumption that made Ray's voice tight when he said Jerome's name. The assumption that blood would hold, but only if it was tested every single time. That's the flaw Lucas doesn't see yet. But it's already there. 6 months earlier, in the fall of 1969, Lucas had made the decision that would define everything. No more associates. No more hired crews. No more men who worked for money and could be bought back by cops with bigger money or softer threats. Family only. His brothers took over enforcement and high-level transport. His cousins handled street distribution and collections. Trusted uncles managed stash houses. Even his wife's relatives got roles. Small ones, nothing critical, but enough to bind them into the structure. It wasn't sentiment. It was mathematics. By 1970, the NYPD had informants in every major drug operation in Harlem except one. Lucas's. They had undercovers buying from the Italians, the Cubans, the old French Connection remnants. They had wires on half the dealers north of 110th Street. They had nothing on Lucas. Detective first-grade Eddie Morrow knew it. Sat in his office in the 32nd Precinct in April 1970 with a file folder that contained 6 surveillance photos, 2 license plates, and a list of first names. No last names, no addresses, no informants willing to talk. His partner, a younger cop named Corelli, dropped another folder on the desk. More nothing, Corelli said. Morrow flipped through it. Surveillance logs from 3 weeks of watching a building on 8th Avenue. 42 people went in and out. 19 of them were related by blood or marriage. It's a family reunion, Corelli said. Every damn day. Morrow tapped the photo on top. A man in a long coat and a fedora, face angled away from the camera. That's him? We think so, can't confirm. You ask around? Nobody knows him, or nobody's saying they know him. Same thing. Morrow lit a cigarette, leaned back, stared at the ceiling. You can't flip family, he said. You can, if you squeeze hard enough. Not this kind. These people share Sunday dinner. You arrest one, the rest close ranks. Corelli sat on the edge of the desk. So, what do we do? Morrow didn't answer right away. Outside, a siren wailed past. The city sounded like it always did. Loud, endless, uninterested in being saved. We wait, Morrow finally said. And we watch. Because eventually somebody makes a mistake. They always do. That spring, Lucas's operation moved more heroin through Harlem than any network in the city. The product came in clean. The prices undercut everyone. The violence stayed controlled. Not absent, but calculated. Disciplined. People noticed. Competitors first. Then customers. Then cops. But noticing wasn't the same as knowing. And knowing wasn't the same as proving. Lucas ran his meetings like a general. Small rooms. No more than 5 people. Always family. He didn't write anything down. Didn't use phones unless absolutely necessary. Paid cash. Owned nothing in his own name. His brother Terrence handled the Bronx territory. Brought in $70,000 a week. Delivered it personally every Saturday night. Never missed. Never came up short. His cousin Danny ran Brooklyn. Younger. Ambitious. Wanted more territory but never pushed too hard. Lucas liked that. Ambition without recklessness. His brother Melvin handled enforcement. The job nobody wanted. The job that required making examples when examples were necessary. Melvin didn't talk much, didn't need to. And Ray, the cousin from the apartment, managed logistics. Pickups, drop-offs, timing, routes. Ray had a mind like a map. Remembered every street, every schedule, every cop's shift change. Together, they formed something law enforcement hadn't seen before. Not a crew, not a gang. A system built on blood, operating with the efficiency of a corporation and the silence of a secret society. In June 1970, a dealer named Paulie Rizzo tried to move into Lucas's territory on 145th. Paulie worked for a crew out of Pleasant Avenue. Connected. Protected. Or so he thought. He lasted 4 days. On the 5th day, Paulie's car was found on the side of the West Side Highway. Empty. No blood. No body. Just the car, with the keys still in the ignition. Paulie himself turned up 3 weeks later in Newark. Alive. Unhurt. But different. Quiet. Someone asked him what happened. I got a message, Paulie said. What message? Paulie didn't answer. Never came back to Harlem. Never spoke Lucas's name again. Word spread. Not about violence. About inevitability. You touch Lucas's territory. You disappear. Not forever. Just long enough to understand. But by the fall of 1970, pressure was building in ways Lucas couldn't see from street level. Federal agents had started noticing patterns, not in Harlem, in Southeast Asia. Shipping routes, flight manifests, soldiers returning from Vietnam with duffel bags that didn't make sense. A DEA analyst named Susan Chen sat in an office in Lower Manhattan tracking something nobody else had connected yet. Heroin purity in New York had spiked. Not gradually. Suddenly. The product on the street was testing at levels that shouldn't have been possible through traditional supply chains. She pulled reports from customs, cross-referenced them with military transport logs, found anomalies, gaps, shipments that arrived lighter than they left. She wrote a memo, sent it up the chain. Got back a note that said, "Interesting. Keep monitoring." That was October. By December, she had something stronger. A name, overheard in a wiretap of a completely different investigation. Someone talking about Lucas's people. Not Frank Lucas, just Lucas. She sent another memo. This one got a meeting. 3 agents, 2 NYPD detectives, her. Who is he? One of the agents asked. We don't know yet, Chen said. But his product is everywhere, and nobody's talking. Morrow was in that meeting. He spoke up. It's family, he said. Everyone looked at him. He's using family. That's why we can't get in. That's why nobody flips. You can't threaten blood the way you threaten business. Chen made a note. Underlined it twice. Then we don't go after the organization, she said. We go after the supply. Spring 1971. The operation was printing money. Lucas bought buildings, cars, clothes that cost more than most people made in a year. But he stayed careful, stayed disciplined. His wife asked him once why he didn't relax, enjoy it. The moment you relax, he said, is the moment they catch you. She didn't ask again. But the success created its own problems. More territory meant more family members involved, more cousins, more in-laws, more people who needed roles, needed money, needed to feel important. Lucas's youngest brother, Turner, was 24. Wanted to prove himself, wanted his own territory. Lucas gave him a small section in the South Bronx. Told him the rules: stay quiet, stay smart, move product, don't make noise. Turner lasted 3 months before he bought a Cadillac. Cherry red. Convertible. Parked it on the street outside his apartment like a billboard. Melvin called Lucas. Turner's making mistakes. What kind? The visible kind. Lucas drove to the Bronx that night, found Turner at a bar on Westchester Avenue, pulled him outside. Get rid of the car, Lucas said. Turner smiled. Drunk, confident. It's just a car, Frank. It's a target, and when they come for you, they come for all of us. Turner's smile faded. Who's they? Lucas didn't answer, just looked at him until Turner understood. The car was gone by morning, sold to someone in Philadelphia. Turner went back to being invisible. But the conversation worried Lucas, not because of the car, because of the question. Turner had asked, who's they? Like it was theoretical, like the threat wasn't real, like family meant immunity. That's when Lucas started to realize the flaw he'd built into his own design. The same loyalty that protected him also made his people careless. They believed the shield was permanent. They stopped seeing the walls closing in. By mid-1971, law enforcement had shifted strategy. They couldn't infiltrate, couldn't flip insiders. So they went external. They pressured suppliers, leaned on dock workers, interviewed soldiers returning from Vietnam. Built the case from the outside in. Detective Morrow got a break in August. A customs inspector in Newark flagged a shipment. Military transport. Personal effects from a sergeant returning from Da Nang. The weight was off, slightly. Not enough to prove anything, but enough to question. The sergeant's name was Monroe. Flew into McGuire Air Force Base. Cleared customs. Walked out. 2 days later, Morrow knocked on Monroe's door in Irvington. Monroe opened it, saw the badge, didn't run, didn't slam the door, just stood there. I don't know what you're talking about, Monroe said before Morrow could speak. I haven't asked you anything yet. Doesn't matter. I still don't know. Morrow studied him. Combat ribbons on the shelf behind him. Honorable discharge papers framed on the wall. A man who'd done his service. Come home. Made a choice. You know what's in those bags? Morrow asked. Monroe didn't blink. Clothes, souvenirs, personal items. That's it? That's it. Morrow nodded. Left. Wrote up the contact. Sent it to Chen. She read it. Called him. He's lying, she said. I know. So arrest him. On what charge? Being nervous? Chen was quiet for a moment. Then, they're using military transport. That's how they're beating us. They're bringing it in through channels we don't monitor. Can you prove it? Not yet. But if they're doing it once, they're doing it regularly. We find the pattern. We find the pipeline. Morrow hung up, stared at the photo of Lucas on his desk, still angled away, still faceless in the useful ways. Who are you? Morrow said to the photo. The photo didn't answer. December 1971. Lucas called a meeting. His 3 brothers, 4 cousins. Ray. They met in a warehouse in Queens. Cold night, empty building. 1 light hanging from the ceiling. Lucas stood in the center. Everyone else formed a circle around him. We're changing routes, Lucas said. Terrence spoke up. Why? Everything's working. Because it's working too well. And when something works too well, people notice. Ray stepped forward. You hear something? I hear everything. Cops are asking questions, different questions than before. They're not looking at us. They're looking at how it gets here. Melvin crossed his arms. So what do? We go quieter. Smaller shipments, different schedules, no patterns. Danny, the ambitious cousin, shook his head. That'll slow us down. Cost us money. Lucas looked at him. Didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. You want to keep the money, or you want to keep your freedom? Danny didn't answer. This isn't negotiable, Lucas said. We stay ahead by staying invisible. The moment they see us, it's over. Everyone nodded. The meeting ended. They left in separate cars, 5-minute intervals, standard procedure. But Turner, the youngest brother, caught up to Lucas in the parking lot. Frank. Lucas stopped. Waited. You really think they're getting close? Lucas looked at him. Saw the fear underneath the question. The fear that came from finally understanding the game wasn't theoretical anymore. They're always getting close, Lucas said. That's why we stay ahead. Turner nodded, walked to his car, drove away. Lucas watched him go. Felt something he hadn't felt before. Not doubt, but awareness. The structure he'd built was strong, but it was also brittle. Every person in it was connected. Every arrest would ripple. Every mistake would multiply. He'd built a fortress out of blood. But blood was also the easiest thing to spill. Early 1972. The operation continued. Quieter now. Smaller loads. Different routes. Lucas had been right. The heat was real. Federal agents were circling. Not close enough to strike, but close enough to feel. In February, Ray's apartment got visited. Not raided. Visited. 2 plainclothes cops knocked. Asked questions. Looked around. Left. Ray called Lucas immediately. They didn't have a warrant, just wanted to talk. About what? Family. Asked how many cousins I had. Who lived where. Said they were doing community outreach. Lucas was silent. Frank? They're mapping us, Lucas said. They know it's family. They're figuring out the connections. What do we do? Nothing. If we move too fast, we confirm it. We stay still. Let them think they're wrong. But they weren't wrong. And Lucas knew it. The meetings got smaller. 3 people max. Lucas started using different apartments every time. Never the same place twice in a month. He moved money through channels that changed weekly. Used different drivers. Different drop-off points. His brothers asked if he was paranoid. Paranoid keeps you free, he said. But the fear was spreading. Not panic. Something colder. The realization that the machine they'd built was too big to hide and too valuable to abandon. In March, Turner got pulled over. Routine traffic stop. Broken taillight. The cop ran his license. Let him go with a warning. Turner called Lucas that night. They're watching me. How do you know? The way he looked at me. Like he knew something. Did he say anything? No, but I could feel it. Lucas told him to stay home for a week. Turner did. But the damage was done. Not to the operation. To Turner's mind. He started seeing cops everywhere. Started thinking every car behind him was a tail. Fear spreads faster than loyalty. Lucas was learning that now. May 1972. Susan Chen sat in a conference room with 16 other federal agents. On the wall, a chart. Names, photos, lines connecting them. All family. This is it, Chen said. This is the organization. One of the agents pointed at the center. That's Lucas? We believe so. Everything connects to him, but we don't have direct evidence yet. Then what do we have? We have the structure. We know who his brothers are, his cousins, where they live, where they work, what they drive. Detective Morrow, brought in as a consultant, spoke from the back of the room. You're going to arrest them all at once? Chen nodded. If we take one, the rest disappear. If we take all of them, the organization collapses. When? Soon. Morrow looked at the chart, saw the names, saw the lines, saw the same thing Lucas had been trying to prevent. A map. Complete. Visible. Drawn in blood. That summer, Lucas started to feel it. Not through evidence, through absence. Informants who used to talk went silent. Cops who used to take money stopped taking calls. The streets felt different. Tighter. He called a final meeting in July, just his brothers. Told them what he suspected. They're coming, Lucas said. When? Terrence asked. I don't know, but soon. Melvin leaned forward. So what's the plan? Lucas looked around the room. These were the men he'd trusted. The men he'd built everything with. The men who would go down with him when it fell. There is no plan, Lucas said. We keep moving, keep working, and when they come, we deal with it. That's it? Turner asked, fear in his voice again. Lucas stood. That's it. Because the moment we run, we admit guilt, and the moment we stop, we lose everything anyway. So we do what we've always done. We trust each other, and we stay quiet. They left that meeting understanding what Lucas hadn't said out loud. The same structure that protected them would destroy them. Family meant no one could run without betraying everyone else, and no one could stay without bringing everyone else down. It was a trap they'd built themselves into. Together. The arrests came in waves. Not all at once like Chen had planned. Too many moving pieces. Too many jurisdictions. But close enough. First Terrence. Then Danny. Then Ray. Each one in a different city. Each one charged separately. Each one facing decades. Lucas wasn't arrested immediately. He was too careful. Too insulated. But the structure around him collapsed like a building losing its foundation. His brothers couldn't make bail. His cousins started talking to lawyers. The money stopped flowing. The territory got absorbed by other crews. The empire that had taken years to build came apart in weeks. When they finally arrested Lucas, it wasn't dramatic. Just federal agents at his door, warrants, handcuffs, the long ride to a building downtown. What followed were trials, testimony, sentences measured in decades, families torn apart not just by law, but by the choices that had brought them there. The strategy had worked. Family had kept Lucas's operation secure longer than any network built on money and fear. But when it fell completely. There was no cutting away the infected parts. Every part was connected. In the end, the same bonds that had made FrankLucas untouchable made him and everyone he loved visible. The map that law enforcement built was drawn in the lines between brothers, cousins, uncles. The fortress made of blood became a prison made of the same. Years later, people would study his case. Write about the family strategy. Debate whether it was genius or fatal flaw. The truth is simpler. It was both. At the exact same time. If this story stayed with you, subscribe, like, and share it. More stories history didn't tell are coming next.